Say something again, Ed. Your voice is coming across like Minnie Mouse, and I can't understand a word you're saying. I'm not sure what you're saying. I can't understand you. It's really high and squeaky. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm excellent. How are you?
Good. Oh, because I need to find it. Yeah. Yes, I will have to. I miscalculated the driving time, so I'm going to leave in earlier than expected.
Okay.
Hey, Don, this is Eldana.
Hi there.
How are you?
Good, excellent. How are you doing?
Good. I'm on the call, but I'm actually headed to the hospital to do a visit. So I'll be on for about 20 minutes or so, but then I'll have to check off.
All right, we're going to move you and Jeanette up in the agenda to make sure we get to hear from you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, Ruth.
Good morning.
How are things out there?
It's snowing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Wow.
pretty cool.
Are you in a higher elevation?
Well, Albuquerque's about as high as Denver. We just don't get the publicity for it.
Oh, I didn't
But
realize that.
Santa Fe is much higher. They get more weather. And Taos, of course, is way, way high. So we're a little over 5,000 feet. Wow.
Didn't know that.
All right. Well, you guys, since we have some people that have to jump off, here's Greg. That's wonderful. Here's Don. That's great. Since we have some people that need to jump off, I think we should get this started. We got a lot to talk about. And so Peter is not here today. So I decided to find something appropriate for Black History Month to share with you. And I found a poem from Langston Hughes that says, I too sing America. And it says, I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and I eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. That was great.
Excellent.
It's great.
Good morning, everyone. Hey,
morning.
can I
Good morning.
just that I found this wonderful little book called Drums in Our Veins, and it's poetry by Karen Georgia Thompson, our new president.
Oh, nice.
And I've been using it for choir devotions. So there's some great things in here. Just if you're interested in a book of poetry by our new president, there's a little tidbit.
It's great.
Where did you get it, Greg?
Online. You can get it on Amazon.
That's great. Good. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start with Jeanette. And Jeanette, I got your email of a conversation we're having. I'm fine with that. If you want to throw any of those ideas out or sit on that for a while, you're welcome to as well. But let's hear what you have to say. What's going on with Jeanette?
Well, yes, it's a very young idea, but I was thinking about having like the space for people to share their music, their original music, because I know that sometimes we don't have the space, or we think, oh, my piece is not good enough. So we can be like that feedback. Also, we can run the music in our churches and say, we have these suggestions, or I think this is great, and encourage people to submit it to publishers. So this will be original music, whether published or not. As I share with Dan, this is a very young idea. I still have to think about how and all of those things. But one thing that I was considering is maybe we can have a space during the conference where we can invite people, bring your music. We'll have kind of like a jamming session. We share our music and we give feedback to each other, and encouragement, because for me, writing music is you bare your soul, right? And it's difficult to just present that in front of people. So if we can be that encouraging voice for people to keep writing, I think we need a lot of original music, especially for progressive music that aligns with the vision and values. So that is my idea, something that I would like to run with. So I would like to hear some thoughts. You don't have to share them right now, but if you want to share something right now, that would be great too.
I'll share something real quick. This kind of stems out of a conversation Jeanette and I have had. I said, we've been blessed to have you on the board for a while. You've got a good exposure to all these different areas, and everybody I see has a kind of an area. I said, where's your passion lie, Jeanette? What do you think? And she came back with this, and I think this liaison to composers and music and original music, I think that's got really good legs in everything we do, conferences, workshops, and ongoing in our ministry and outreach. So anyways, yeah, let that ruminate, and let's talk about that more and collect your thoughts and ideas. And Jeanette, thank you for that. Yeah, Greg.
Well, Jeanette, you mentioned something during the conference, so I don't see any other conference committee members on here right now. But anyhow, I have a thought about that. In the schedule of the conference, both Thursday and Friday, we have activity options from 4 to 5 p.m. And those are wide ranging from an organ masterclass to yoga to a walking tour to reading sessions, and those so that people can have a bit more of an informal conversation time together around a topic. And I think that this would be ideal for that frame during the conference. I've made a note of that, and for people to share their music and have maybe a space where, well, certainly a space where they could read through it and
Mhm.
share together and maybe even get feedback. Are you planning, which leads me to the question, are you planning to attend the conference? And
Yes, I am.
is that something that you would be willing to kind of uh, lead that dialogue and share?
Yes, I would love to do it. I would love to do it. Yes,
Let
definitely.
me report that to Craig, and then I think we can make that happen. So
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, yeah.
either one day or both days. Let's see how many activity options he has planned. But I think I think that would be an ideal spot to kind of maybe launch that and test it, and then you might get a feel for how we can move forward ongoing as a board to encourage that kind of thing.
Yes. Okay, that will be awesome. Great.
Great.
Thank you.
I love that. I love that. Anything else, Jeanette, you want to share?
Just a real quick about royalties for spirituals. My church is on board, and it's incredible because we had a conversation last week with the worship committee about trying to find a good movement or a good entity that we can support that is in DuPage County, our local county. So this is awesome because with Michelle, her church is also in the same county. So we will be partnering with her church and benefit uh, the same entity, which is a non-for-profit who promotes STEM education for African American families. So that the money will go directly to benefit them. So I'm excited about this.
You should be. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
That's
So-
excellent. That's wonderful. Yeah.
I love that.
So that's the part of my report.
Thank you so much. Eldana, let's hear from you before you have to sign off for what you need to do as well.
Me?
Great, thanks.
Eldana, yeah.
Oh,
Eldana, thank you. And I'm staying without video because I'm actually driving, so but I'm safe. You're all good. I'm only going about 30 miles an hour. So some of these things I have not even had a chance to bounce off of Don or Annalise at this point. So you're kind of all hearing this conversation freshly, but we'll do more work in the background. I met with Andrew Warner, who is the represents the foundation and handles all of the foundation in the Wisconsin Conference, but he is also on the national staff in the same capacity of fundraising. And so I bounced the idea. Was it Eric that had the idea of going to the conferences, talking to the conferences and asking them to donate for the conference itself?
Yeah,
Is that you, Eric?
I think so, but yes.
Yeah, so I did have that conversation with him, and he said, I think it's worth the ask. And he forwarded me some emails for the different people. And so I'll do a little reaching out on that to see if we could get some sponsorship for the conference itself. Great idea. Thank you, Eric. One of the other pieces, and this is what I'm asking for some thought from you all for, is that I realize that UCCMA is a 501c3, but we also don't have a foundation kind of arm at this point. And one of the things that we might want to consider is actually putting that money into the Wisconsin Conference Foundation, which some of the benefits of that would be that it's part of a bigger pot, it's part of a bigger pot of money. And so it could then gain more for us in interest, and we don't have to worry about whether it's what we're putting the money in and how it's being invested. So that's something for us to consider. And then the question would be, if we wanted to pursue that, is there someone that you would want me to direct Andrew to have that conversation, or do you want me to continue to have that conversation with him of the pros and cons of that? And then we also talked about putting a package together that we could send out to congregations that would allow them to do this actually happened in Greg's church, but sending out a package to show people how to have a music Sunday and raise money on behalf of their musicians to put towards this foundation, and monies that would go to the foundation. So that's what I have right now, and I would welcome any questions that you have for me.
Eldana, I'm going to just share one little bit of information. I wasn't planning on sharing this today, but your energy and your ideas are causing an early leak here. So I had a long conversation with Joan and Ed the other day, and have looped in Donna as well. And we're looking at these funds, and we're like, okay, these right now that foundation endowment with last year's and this year, we're probably sitting at above or just under $20,000, which is amazing. And that money needs to be invested in some way, in a very, very safe way, to make a little money for us more. So some of those seeds have been planted, and I'll send an email introduction, or not introduction, but I'll maybe send an email connecting you and Joan and Ed on that, because they had some pretty good thoughts as well that I asked them to explore, and that's as far as it's gotten. So I think what you're sharing, these great ideas and this wonderful energy, it'd be worth putting your heads together with them and seeing what we can come up with collectively. That's
perfect. It's just nice when it's bigger, when we have that money in a bigger pot and we can gain more interest. And I know from our church having a foundation that it is a lot of work to make sure that you have your money in places that reflect who you are and where you want your money to be, yet gain the interest that you hope to gain.
Absolutely.
Don, I might just add that with Andrew Warner helping to guide that too, that's just one more link to the national church that we are always seeking and have been seeking for years. And so I don't know whether placing our money with the Wisconsin conference or what Eldana is suggesting, but anyhow, a safe place. And I'm delighted that Andrew Warner is helping advise that a little bit. It's just another link to the national church that is always a good thing.
Yeah, and he is so positive in trying to help us get more connected with the national, and so I love his energy and his wisdom.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I love your energy and your wisdom and the work you're doing. Thank you. Anything else for us, Eldana?
No, nothing other than if I need to field any questions from you all.
We're there. Thank you so much. Okay, so in being respectful of people's time so they don't have to sit through everything, I think we should turn it over to Mr. Craig with some conference information and this and that. So Craig, you're up to bat.
Thanks. So I don't really have anything up to date since last time, but as you all know, registration has opened. I will say that you can all talk about this if you want after I leave the meeting. I don't want to know what the registration numbers are at this point because I'm going on vacation next week and I don't want to stress about it during my vacation. So save that number for me until later. Right. So really nothing has changed except registration has opened. We are going to move into our next phase of planning, which involves all the hospitality part with transportation and food and all that kind of stuff that happens more on site with my local folks, and trying to build up a core of volunteers, many of which my church has already volunteered to do, but it's just a matter of putting all those things on paper, getting everybody in areas that they feel they're best used and needed. So that's kind of where we are at this point. The conference has fallen into place in terms of all the offerings and all the presenters and that sort of stuff. So I'm indebted to Joan and to Ed for all the work that they're doing on the website part, and to Jim for all his registrar needs and duties. And the rest of my committee here in Greenwich. It's going to be exciting, and I'm looking forward to offering what we have to offer.
Where is your vacation?
It is in exactly 1 week from now. I'll be boarding a ship in Fort Lauderdale for a cruise to San Juan, St. Croix, and Antigua for a week.
It's a tough life.
Excellent. Yeah.
And then after that, I'm home for 2 days, and I will be off to the Eastern Division ACDA conference, which I will have a big stack of flyers in tow and shoving them in people's faces left and right. I understand from the organizers of the conference out there in Providence that the registrations has exceeded the capacities of the venues out there, and they've had to shut things down because they just don't have space for all the students, particularly who have registered for the conference. So they've cut off the registration for the students, and they put them on a will call basis for any seats that are empty. They can let so and so in, and that's where. So I'm expecting a whole lot of interaction with folks out there, and passing out and sharing the word of UCCMA, and getting our stuff out there specifically because it's in that region and we're in that vicinity too.
Well, I'd love to get my hands on that will call list and send them an invitation. Like, well, this didn't work out for you, but hey.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions?
A scheduling thing. I read in the minutes that the board is meeting when during the, it's something about Saturday afternoon or Sunday or.
Yeah, so the final worship service should be, it's at 11 o'clock, and so it should be over by 12:30 at the latest. I'm thinking 12:15. And then, shortly after that, when we get a chance to, say our goodbyes and whatnot, between 12:30 and 1 o'clock, the board would gather.
And that's on Sunday?
It's on Saturday.
Saturday, okay. Okay.
And Craig, I'll send you a short email. You just missed Jeanette Rodriguez, another board member, by a matter of a minute or two, but she had a great suggestion for one of the activity options that she is willing to lead. So I'll send you that email, and maybe we can plug that in there.
Sounds good. Yeah, the activity options at 4 o'clock on Thursday and Friday are kind of a wild card thing, and we're not requiring anybody to register for anything for that specific time slot. So, we won't know necessarily if anybody is going to participate in those until it actually happens, or maybe we can change that. And, when you get there on Wednesday, sign up for, X, Y, or Z. So at least the presenters for those things on Thursday and Friday can know whether, they're going to have 5 people or 20.
Excellent. Anybody else? Thanks, Craig.
So thank you. As always, shoot me an email, either the official UCCMA conference or my personal email, which you have in the board list. So any questions you have, just let me know.
Hey, Craig, thank you again for your response to my situation, and I appreciate it.
My pleasure. I hope it works out.
Yep.
All right, I'm off. Thank you all.
Have fun.
Have a great vacation.
Yep.
I plan to.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's feature you, and if you want to also submit a request to approve the minute or the budget report you sent out as well when you're done with your update.
Okay. Well, hopefully you had a chance to look at the the two that I sent, and I apologize again for them being so late. We had a luncheon at our house for 14 people yesterday, and I was just away from UCCMA until after that was over. But I corrected the December, the second sheet that has the outstanding liabilities and restricted, non-restricted funds on it to reflect the correct amount for the endowment fund as of December 31st. And then the January report, of course, we added a lot more endowment. So as you said earlier, Don, that we are up to just over $19,000. But that's great in 2 years of actually having this active. Reflecting on Aldana's comments and the conversation, I had spoken with Joan and Ed about a couple of different things a couple of weeks ago, and we did mention investment of these endowment funds and what the opinion is to do that to get more money. And I had mentioned to them, certainly looking into CDs. CDs are, I know from our personal experience, you can get a fairly good payback depending on how much you put into it. And that's all relative, the amount that you're investing. And overall, if you do need to take out part of it, and we found that we needed to do that for some reason, the penalties are not outweighing the benefits of what the interest is, bottom line. And there's also a clause usually that says that the penalty fees can be waived. So in what case you say, we're nonprofit, we need the monies for whatever, there's always that opportunity. And I discussed with Ed and Joan about possibly looking here at my bank. I will say that Bank of America that we deal with nationally for our finances is not the easiest bank to work with. And even my local branch, it's like trying to get an appointment with them. You can't walk in, you can't deal with them. They're just very cold and like hold you at a distance. And so my recommendation would be, if we didn't decide to do something that Aldana's suggesting and put this money somewhere into a larger pot, which is what I'm understanding with her, that it would be better not to do Bank of America and try to look for another option. And I don't think that matters if we're investing the money. It doesn't have to be with the bank that we deal with for our regular finances. So, we had discussed that, just so that you're aware of that, Don, that we had gone there as well. And that I would appreciate being in the loop with that. You did not mention me when you said you would work with Joan and Ed and Aldana, but just so that I'm aware of that, since I am handling the finances of the organization, just to be kept abreast of what's happening.
I mean, Joan and Ed did share that they had those conversations with you, and I was remiss in adding your name.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry, but I was aware of that.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to be sure that, I'm kept in the loop as well, with things. So I don't have, anything else in my notes here. If anyone doesn't have a question on any of the reports that I did, they're pretty straightforward. I will say that this last report, as of January 31st, when I did the figures, and I do them numerous times to make sure that I am doing them correctly, if you look at the total unrestricted funds available, and that's anything that we have that would be fluid money to use that we don't have in the scholarships, the endowment, the conference fund, and outstanding checks is just like not quite $2,800. And this is February. We got 11 months here to go, and we got $2,800 that's unaccounted for. Not that we can't like borrow from these, but that's not a healthy thing to be doing, to say, well, for now, we'll pay it out of those. I will say that the outstanding check for Wild Apricot, which is almost $2,600, is really killing us. And Ed and Joan and I talked about that there's not an easy solution for that. They've been working with Triva to try to come up with another solution for our charges. But from what Ed had expressed to me is that other companies that are doing similar things here in the US, and Wild Apricot is Canadian, that they're more expensive. And Wild Apricot now has indicated that they will be raising the fees this year. So we could potentially get hit with an increase at some point in time. There's no guarantee with what I just paid them. And so we're dumping a lot of money in there, but we don't know what the solution is to go as an alternative. I did throw out to Ed and Joan about something like Venmo, because that, to my knowledge, then there's no cost incurred. For those of you that don't know what Venmo is, it's a way of transferring money where you pay someone through Venmo and it comes out of your account on your bank account, which is entered into the system, and then it goes immediately into the other person's account that you're paying. And it's easy to do once you've got it in your phone and set up. But Ed did make a good point, and the concern of people today not feeling comfortable with that, not being able to navigate that, and not being able to use their credit card, which they may want to opt to use, or if they don't have checks. Today, there are some people that just don't have checking accounts, and to write a check to mail it to UCCMA as their membership renewal or for the conference if they want to register. So there's pros and cons for everything. So if anybody has any other suggestions or ideas, I'm sure that we would love to hear ideas. Ed.
Yeah. Well, one of the most important parts of what Wild Apricot does for us is being a membership to help us with all the membership parts of our organization, which I don't see how Venmo could ever take the place of. So registering for conferences, for sending out our journals, newsletters. So I don't think Venmo is an option at all.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if there's anything else out there.
Yeah, the organization we checked with, we were very positive about it for a while, but then we discovered that they had a big setup fee, and Triva is not too pleased with some of the way they're marketing the project, and so we're kind of on hold on that right now. I'm not aware of any more increases from Wild Apricot coming, because this last fee increase came as of last May, and it's just hitting us now in February because we're an annual subscription. So we're good for this whole year at this rate. So there's no chance of that rate increasing in the next 12 months. What it does next February, I don't know.
All right, so let's do this. So we're locked in for a year. If anybody comes up with other suggestions that you're aware of that might be a good idea, send them to Donna and Ed, and we'll evaluate with that. Is that a good plan?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Donna, do you want to call the vote then to approve these budget reports?
Sure. Is there a motion to accept the December 31st and the January 31st treasurer's reports?
So moved.
Eric? Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Greg? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Donna. All right, Ed, since your voice is warmed up here and this and that, why don't you share anything with us that you want us to know about? that you haven't already.
Okay, well, from the website, I can tell you that there are 68 registrations for the upcoming royalties Saturday sharing. We've tentatively put a limit on the top of it of 90, just so we don't, and that gives us a little bit of wiggle room because our Zoom account only allows us to go up to 99. And so we're through the website, we're able to put a waiting list on it. So if we get to 90, we still will have a waiting list. And so there's probably a pretty good chance that 9 more people could join. But we're just, we don't want to all of a sudden find that we have more than we can handle, even though most of our sessions, you know, it's only 30-40% of the people who actually show up. Since Craig isn't here, I can tell you there are 8 registrations for the conference. The majority of them is board related. But I think there are at least 2 of them who are not on the board. So they are starting to come in. I don't think I have anything else. Unless there are any other questions about the website.
Excellent. Thanks, Ed. All right, with that lead into royalties for spirituals, let's let Jim talk to us.
Yes, so we're all set for next week. I've been in contact with each of the panelists that are there, and we put together an outline of how the session would be going. So I think we're in good shape for that. We're looking forward to a good crowd. And I'm going to be trying to drum up some more interest in that. So we might even get to close to 90, which would be fun to do.
Mm-hmm.
The one in March is oh yes, this is something that I had a brainstorm during our last conference meeting as people were talking about how we are all suffering with smaller ensembles and things that we are doing creatively to try and make up for that part that's going down. I thought that would be a great session to have people come and share what they're doing. So it's going to be more of an interactive type of session. And I'm hoping that people on the board, as well as any others that you think might be good about doing that, would be helpful in kind of just sharing the knowledge and sharing the creativity that we've done in other places, and maybe plant a seed for someone else to get started on that. In April, Ed came up with a great session about protecting your hearing with the audiologist that's going to be speaking. Greg has consented to being the host for that one. It's all near and dear to many of us. I know I have hearing aids, and it's something that I know that as far as my career goes, the thing that's probably going to make me end my career is when I can't hear critically. And so I'm doing what I can to protect it, but it's something that people of all ages should be considering, because once it starts going, there's not a lot you can do to get it back.
Do we have dates for those 2?
I believe the March one is March 20th. No, I know I have a
No,
17th,
17th,
17th, yes, because I was going to be the 23rd, but I now have a funeral on the 23rd. So it's March 17th and April 28th, I think I remember.
April 27th.
27th.
Are those on the calendar, Jim?
They're in the spreadsheet, yes.
Excellent.
Okay, sorry.
So it'll be March 16th. The 17th is a Sunday,
Okay.
right?
Yes,
16th,
okay.
Yes.
16th.
So the 16th, yeah.
Yep.
And April is when?
April 27th.
So 27th, okay.
And I went into the calendar this morning and changed the name of the workshop. Joan came up with a good description. So it's going to now be called Hearing Help, What Your Ears Want You to Know.
Oh, great.
Jim, this is great. Thank you so much. And just a little tip, you said you will reach that point when you can't hear critically. I try to tune out any critics of me in anything I do already, so it's selective. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful work. You guys, the energy that's ruminating here today is just, I'm so happy about all this. So, okay. Anything else, Jim? Good. Ruth.
I just have to tell you all, as Greg is aware, my husband has hyperacusis, and we went to Sarasota in 2018 so he could have semi-experimental surgery on one ear, which was very helpful. So this strikes very close to home for me. Yeah.
Very good.
So what I wanted to tell you all about is that last Sunday, our church had a very special service. We have a very energetic committee of African Americans who have put together a whole lot of stuff for Black History Month. And so my worship committee and I have put together a month's worth of music from Black composers, various time periods and places. And we were able to bring Yvonne Delk to be our preacher last Sunday. Yvonne Delk lives in Norfolk, Virginia, and she is one of the mothers of the UCC. She is 84. And we are doing an all-church read. This is a book she's edited. It's called The Afro-Christian Convention, the Fifth Stream of the United Church of Christ. So we always talk about the 4 streams of the UCC, right? There is a 5th stream, and it's Black, and that, did any of you know that? Yeah, so that's the reason for learning about it. So as a musician, this was wonderful, and I started the service by telling people that we were doing this and putting in a plug for royalties for spirituals, and we got a lot of donations. This was such a big deal that the other UCC church in Albuquerque canceled their worship service and came to our church. And so we had a lot of people in the sanctuary, and we had a combined choir, and we did Hear My Prayer by Moses Hogan. So it was really a wonderful event, and that we have a lot of energy around the whole thing, and hope to continue with the rest of February featuring Black musicians and Black music. Other than that, there hasn't been a whole lot of requests for job placement. We have had recently several large churches that are not UCC putting in requests, which is always good. So that's what I have to say. Oh, I did have one request. Reading Brandon's minutes, it seemed to me that it would be very helpful to him if we spelled names of people that he wouldn't necessarily know, like John Stansel and Karen Georgia Thompson, who I think he listed as Karen Dorothy Thompson.
Very good. And we could probably type those in the chat, because when he goes back in to watch these and make minutes, then he would have access to this chat. Is that right, Ed? He would have access to the chat in this recorded meeting, right? A group chat?
We can make it, when it's recorded, there are 3 separate recordings, a video, an audio, and then a chat. So if he just went to the recording link, he wouldn't see the chat. But
Okay,
but there is a link that would take him to the chat text, yes.
excellent. Well, then problem solved. Thanks, Ruth. That's a great idea.
Yeah. And Ruth, you should, the name of that book you were just talking about, you should put that in the chat.
I will put that in the chat, you bet.
Greg, did you have a question?
No.
Ruth? Oh, okay. With those minutes, then Ruth, would you make a motion to approve those minutes that Brandon sent, and then we'll check that off our list?
Yeah, I move that we approve Brandon's minutes for, I believe it was November and
January.
November and January.
Second.
You want me to
Approved,
applaud him?
everybody? Approved?
Approved?
Okay, excellent. All right, before we hear from our past and future presidents, I'm going to jump in just briefly with a couple things, because I'm going to close us out today. So I don't want to just talk for the last 10 minutes all at once. So one of the things that, Susan Blaine left us, and we found out that she is dealing with ovarian cancer, if you haven't read that. So please, please, please hold her up and keep her in your thoughts and prayers. But that leaves an open board position, and I've been kind of ruminating on this, and I want to throw out an idea to you and a name to see what your thoughts are. So in the Giving Tuesday endowment campaign of the fall, I found some really good success when I contacted the Minnesota conference. I said, hey, we've got this National Giving Day. We're looking to raise this endowment. They got on board and said, we will put this on our website, and then got back to me again and said, we will also include it in our social media. And I thought, we've worked so hard historically to get in with the national office, which we're making some inroads now, but we've never really arrived there. And I thought, well, why aren't we dealing directly with the conferences? There's a list of conference ministers and this and that. And I think that's an area in our marketing that is lacking. If it was that easy to get cooperation, why can't we, when we're doing something like royalties for spirituals or a conference or composers, this and that, why can't we include that in our marketing list with these national, conference offices and the ministers? So and at the same time, as I was kind of pondering this, Craig had an idea about trying to get some support from the conferences directly to support this conference. And I said, Craig, I said, let me bounce this idea off you. I said, this is what I think would be a really good pinpointed, dedicated position on the board of directors to be the liaison to the conference ministers. And he agreed wholeheartedly. And then I waited a respectful amount of time before I said, I think that should be you. And he pondered it and ruminated about it. And I sent some other really flattering and nice messages that were all authentic. And he's willing to try this for a couple of years. And I said, after the conference, because you're so busy with the conference, but I'd like to, throw a vote out to you that starting August 1st, then July will be done. August 1st, we bring Eric on the board of directors as our conference liaison, as part of the marketing team. That means anything we got coming up with education, like I said, this and that. Well, Michelle's part of that team. We get it on the website. Ed and Joan are part of that, and Craig would run with that to all the conference ministers in an email saying, hey, can you include this in all your outreach? Thoughts?
Craig has been, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ruth.
I was thinking before the meeting that one of the things I intend to do, because I have a relationship with our Southwest Conference person who puts together the weekly newsletter, is to try and feed her things about UCCMA. When we had this event at church last week, and I was talking to the music director from our sister church, she didn't know about UCCMA.
Yep.
So maybe that's something. Maybe that's something that Craig can facilitate also, is having some regular communication.
Absolutely. That's part of it. And then also too, so if he, say we've got, hey, do you know about UCCMA? Conference ministers, send. You all got this information. If there is a personal connection, like somebody in the Southwest Conference, I know people in the Minnesota Conference, it never hurts. The best marketing is a personal connection. Like, so after something goes out, Ruth, you can say, did you get that article? Is, about that's always welcome.
Yeah, no, I think personal connections are vital. That makes all the difference.
But we've never tapped this market, really, like in this way. So other thoughts, questions?
Well, I think that the conferences are the way to go here. They're the ones that get mostly to the grassroots level, to the local churches and to pastors and to musicians and that kind of thing. And by doing the conference, not necessarily bypassing the national, but by going to the conferences, I think you're spreading yourself out there much more evenly to the whole United States. So I'm sorry, Jim, go on.
Yeah, so the only thing I was going to be mentioning is from my interaction with Craig. He is very much a hands-on person, and I've been involved with 2 different conferences right now. One was in Glastonbury, one was here, and both of them were run differently. And Craig is very much hands-on, get it done, and he's fantastic in that regard. So I think he would be a great asset to the board, and I'm glad to hear that he's interested in staying on and working at that.
Mhm.
Other thoughts? Ed?
Yeah. We do have contact regularly with all the conference offices, but because they are complimentary members of UCCMA, and so when we send out newsletters or the journal, the conference offices do get those. But our experience has been that we don't much get any response from any of them.
They need
And in
the-
fact, because the conference ministers change fairly frequently, we do occasionally get somebody sending us back a note to say this person is no longer here. So I think Joan and I have been thinking that maybe we should, instead of sending it to the conference minister, we should send it to the conference office.
Yeah.
And so that it could be passed on.
Absolutely.
But they, that we've been doing this for a long time now. So those 28 or 32 complimentary members we have, I mean, most of those are conference offices.
Besides so does that include all of the conferences in the United States? The complimentary ones?
I don't know.
No,
right.
no, they don't.
Oh, I couldn't think that it would. So this does two things, and this takes it a little bit more pinpointed into what you guys have started, and it probably also gets that off of your list of to-do things too. Then once this gets rolling, Craig could kind of run with that, which you've started already, and expand on it, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think having somebody there to communicate with the conferences, to push them to include our information, to really make them help disseminate the knowledge or the content that we're putting out there would be absolutely tremendous.
Yeah, and then it gives him an area, like I said, Jeanette, same thing with Jeanette. She's coming up with an area that she can contribute to now, rather than just kind of at-large members. To me, it's a better working system. Ruth, go ahead.
I think it would be worth considering having the board divvy up conferences and then, make a phone call to whatever conference and say, I'm on the UCCMA board and we send you this information, and who should receive it in your office, and
Right.
who would be interested and pass it on in your e-newsletter, which I'm sure they all have.
Absolutely. And it might help us gain some recognition with the national office if they're seeing more regular things from us on the local levels too.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Is this something we need to vote on, or?
I'd like to do that. I'd like to make a motion that so August 1st, we bring Craig Simons on to be our conference liaison to do the work we've just talked about it.
So is he a board member or not?
Yes. He would take the open position that Susan Blaine has left us with.
I second that.
All in favor? Motion passed. Excellent. I'll let him know. That's great. Okay, let's see. I think then take a look at the calendars. Thank you all. That calendar looks great, you guys, and what a working record. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel every year. I love. Took a while to get us going on that, but you're all using it great, and I appreciate that. So before I close this out, we need to hear from our past president and our future president. So Mr. Chestnut, we'd love to hear from you.
I'm doing well, thank you. It's good to be with you. I missed last month because we had Keith Hampton in residence over Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, and so he was a delight, as you can imagine. He did a concert on Friday night and then worked with my choir all day on Saturday, and we featured some of his new works on Sunday morning with him conducting. And he brought with him 3 of his singers from the Keith Hampton Singers in Chicago. And so it was interesting adding, I'm trying to think, I think I have about 4 or 5 African Americans in my choir, but then you add another 3 professional African American singers into that recipe. And we got our praise on Sunday. It was really great. It's a lot of fun. So anyhow, sorry, I nice to be with you again today. Things are going well here and plugging along in Florida. Thank you.
Your health as well?
Not much has changed. I feel pretty darn good. I'm still in the cycle of weekly blood test and most weeks receiving blood transfusions. And so that is seems to be a pattern that I have yet to break, but I feel pretty well. In Indiana, they say I'm doing pretty good for the shape I'm in.
Great. Thanks, Greg.
Thank
Eric,
you.
you've got some things you want to share with us.
Well, at our church, we're doing the Spiritual Royalties Initiative again this year, after having a very successful year last year, and we support two organizations in the greater Harrisburg area, Capillary Music Association and the Sankofa Theater Group. And so we took our money and split it between the two last year, and we're going to do that again this year. We have special envelopes in the pews and QR code in our bulletins and all that kind of stuff. I introduced and reminded the folks in our congregation about it, and people are already giving money, and so that's a wonderful thing. In February, we do all the hymns in our February services, including Ash Wednesday, are spiritual based, along with the anthems and everything else this month. So we really drive the theme home with people in the congregation, and they seem to enjoy that immensely. I love Ruth's idea about having a special service a celebratory service, that kind of thing, and having partner churches or whatever. That seems like a wonderful idea. We did Good Friday service with a very ecumenical bunch last year, and it was quite an event in Harrisburg. So anyway, a couple things. The 4 Pennsylvania conferences are now talking about combining into one called the Keystone Conference. And so in anticipation of that happening, it hasn't been voted on yet or agreed to, but the 4 conference ministers have gathered and have started to work out this process. This summer, we're doing our annual meeting at Penn State, up at State College, and all 4 conferences are going to gather to worship and do workshops and so forth together. I'm going to present a workshop on using music imaginatively to acknowledge issues of justice. And Scott Siciliano and I are going to do that, and I'm directing the conference choir, and I have a booth for the UCCMA. And I'd like to really make a big deal out of this because Pennsylvania has been major league lagging behind membership and that kind of thing in the UCCMA. And so I really want to push that big time. It's a 3-day event, and I would like to see if there is, and Karen Georgia Thompson is the main preacher for this event too. So she and I are going to sit down and talk too about communications in the future and how we can be mutually beneficial to each other and all that kind of stuff. Although she's written for the Journal 2 or 3 times now for us, and so she understands how we work and what we do. I'm asking, is there a banner, UCCMA banner?
Yes.
Okay, and Greg has it? Is that?
Yeah, Ed, I have one of the big banners, if not more. I've not opened the box since it was sent to me as president. It's funny, I was going to talk to Don about this and not waste your time, but I still am holding a big box of, I know it's one of the big floor banners. There may be more than one. And I still am also holding all of our records and history of paperwork. And I did condense those, just for not to get off topic, but I did, when I received them, I condensed those into 2 plastic storage containers. we're storing them. So I'm not willing to take on the responsibility of what should go into the cloud and what should be thrown. I mean, I threw away a lot of duplicates and things that I knew we would not need. But anyhow, they're all here, and I can send that banner wherever. Ed, do you know who else would have one of the big banners? Have I got all of the banners?
Well, I don't know, are you referring to a banner that goes across this way? I mean, we have banners that are like window shades that pull up.
Right.
We have one of those here in our house, I think. But I think there are two of those. I don't know, maybe you have one of those, I don't know.
I have one of a small one that would
Yeah.
be like a tabletop model. It's
Yeah.
only about maybe 18 inches tall,
Mhm.
and I have that one. So
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be nice to consolidate all this stuff.
yeah,
The box is big enough, it's all sealed, but the box is big enough that I'm certain that at least one of those big floor banners, so that sits,
yeah.
reaches up like a window shade, probably
Mhm.
at least 6 feet tall. But I know we also purchased at the time some table models, and
Mhm.
I may have some one of those in the box. So
Okay. Well, could
I probably have the best thing for you. Why don't I send that box to you? And you can open it and see if there's everything you need, or if you need something else from Ed, or
well, that would be great. I just would like to really inundate the people at this Keystone Conference, because there'll probably be at least 1,000 people there, and really push UCCMA hard up here in Pennsylvania, because we in Pennsylvania have a whole heck of a lot of UCC churches and formerly German Reformed churches that need to be kicked in the butt a little bit about getting involved. And so if you want to send,
should I UPS that to your Broadmoor Drive address?
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, I'll do it.
That would be wonderful.
Greg, send me a receipt and I'll just reimburse you for the postage.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep. I don't know how expensive it'll be, but if it's more than yes, I'll do that.
Okay. Also, if there's anything else out there that people could pick up and take with them, I don't know if we probably don't have a brochure for our organization, or something that would include, our mission and how you join, and maybe the DEI statement, or that any paperwork that I could throw at people.
How about the conference flyer? The conference flyers out there.
Conference information about the conference would be great. So this meeting's the beginning of June. And we could, really push that hard, even though it would probably be obviously after an early bird registration, but there may be people who would come up from Pennsylvania. And so I think that would be really important.
Eric, just this is so silly to say, but we found at the national conventions to have a bowl or two of candy on our.
Oh yeah, I was planning on that
really
already.
drew a lot of attention. People would stop by, take a candy, and we could talk to them. So
yeah, but I didn't know if there was any place where there were, leftover programs from last conferences, or we had any boxes of old journals lying around, or anything like that.
Eric, I have a bunch of flyers, the old brochures for UCCMA. I can pull them out and look and see if they sound really outdated, but
Wow.
they were flyers that were printed, I think, years ago, and they somehow got in with the treasurer's things. So if they look worthwhile, I'll send them off to you.
Okay.
And I also will look in those plastic boxes and see if we've got old journals or anything.
That'd be great. And if we feel as an organization that we need something like that, a new brochure, a new I don't know, most people do their stuff online these days, but when you're at a conference, you want to pick stuff up and stick it in your tote bag and move on. Um,
Well,
anything
we
that,
should talk with Joan and see what we have here in the house too.
okay, well, that would be great.
She's the one who's made up previous brochures.
Okay,
So,
all right,
Yes.
that would be great. And I'll drop a note to Joan and ask her to do that.
Here's just a quick thought too. I don't know if it's really feasible at this point, but if we wanted to take a look at where we are with registrations and how much capacity we might have left, we might be able to do something like a special deal for people who at that particular conference. If you register while you're at the concert, you can get the early bird rate, even if it's not really, I'm speaking, I don't have any we'd still have to go through the conference board and take a look at what our whole registration history is by that time. But that
Right,
certainly is an option that we might be able to do.
yeah, I had written down here, could we have a drawing for a free registration? Or that's a grand idea as well, what you said, Jim, I appreciate that.
We've extended that early bird before for special things, so I think that'd be the way to go. People like knowing they're getting a deal. And Eric, I think you should put out a big candy dish of gummies and then let people ponder, are these, what kind of gummies are these? That's just good. That's just good marketing. I don't wonder. That'll might attract a lot of people. All right. Anything else, Mr. Dunbar?
Okay, I'll give that some thought.
Kidding. Yeah.
Um,
Anything else from you?
well, the journal, obviously, everything's due the March 30th for a May 1st posting. I've decided that the focus is going to be children and youth in our churches. And recruiting young families, recruiting children, getting them involved in musical organizations, getting them involved in worship, how to attract young families. That seems to be something that some people some churches in the UCC are having difficulty with, as the denomination ages. So I thought I'd do that. If anybody has any ideas at all about anything that could be included, I still have room for stuff. Please let me know. Also, the book that Greg, that you recommended, the poetry book by Karen Georgia Thompson. If you would like to do a short review of that book, how you use it, what it would be, positive for congregations or choirs or musicians or whatever, that would be a wonderful thing. Ruth, if you're, if you're reading that book of Yvonne Delk,
Yeah.
I think that would be a great thing as well, if you want to write something about that.
To save me looking at our calendar, what's your deadline, Eric?
March the 30th.
Okay.
And it wouldn't have to be anything in any great length. Just, again, another resource for people. Always grand, always wonderful. If any of you read anything that you think, or hear a recording, or have music that you want to recommend, or a collection of things, or, a media outlet or a website, or, any of those kinds of things, I would appreciate that. I haven't had a great response from my email about people writing on the topic of children and youth. But we're finding stuff, and we're getting things going. The last thing I wanted to ask about was the editor search. And thanks to Craig and Joan for advice on that. I really appreciate that. I sent out the job description of what I thought that I had been doing the last few years, and I appreciate the response that some people gave me as to, Peter made a really good suggestion about adding something. I think that when we go to put this out to the world that we need a new editor, that we do it to the membership, and that the position does not necessarily have to be a board position. We would be constraining ourselves by doing that. We could put it out to the membership and to the general UCC churches through the conferences. If a person would agree to do that, and we could have them come to the summer conference, I think that would be a wonderful thing where this person and I could sit down and talk, and be, that kind of thing. So that would be my timeline, is to try and get somebody involved by the summertime so that they could help during the next year, and take over, hit the ground running and take over when I have to become president. So any ideas that you might have about that, please let me know. I really would like to start getting that information out in March or April, I think. What are your feelings about that?
Yeah, I think that's great. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I've talked long enough.
And I'm not, oh, Donna, go ahead.
Oh, I just have one more thing that I didn't mention when I was doing the treasurer's things, that regarding kind of the Black History Month things. Last Sunday, we did a service with spirituals, and the theme was reaching out and touching. And the picture that was used was hands, two hands. One was black and the other was not. And tomorrow we are doing a Dixieland Mardi Gras service in preparation for Shrove Tuesday for Mardi Gras before Lent. So I have a Dixieland band coming. We have Mardi Gras beads. We're just going to rock the meeting house, and the choir singing a real upbeat Dixieland thing. And we're ending with When the Saints Go Marching In for the final hymn. So I suspect people will get up and move around. And then the postlude will be another piece by the band. The band is playing 4 pieces individually during the service. So should be exciting. Looking forward to it.
Cool. Thanks, Donna. I'm not going to dive into this now because of the sake of time. We're already over, but I think that we need to discuss down the road all of these materials and all of these banners and all of these tabletop things probably need to live in one area, and we need to have an active inventory of what we have, and so that people have resources and it's shipped to and from the same place all the road all the time. And just be more concise about that. That could be a volunteer, could be an advisor, but some sort of a librarian, inventory keeper of all of our resources. So that's more to come. All right, so I'm going to close this out here, and I was trying to figure out what I could say that would be somewhat of a moment. And I'm going to tell you that I grew up in a very white middle-class neighborhood, and within a 4-block radius of where our home was, all the other kids in the neighborhood were girls everywhere. There wasn't a boy that lived within 3 blocks of me. There were girls, 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 girls. So I played with the girls. I was teased about that and, bullied a little bit about that. And the girls across the street, Julie and Corey, had a really, really fun cousin, Gigi. Gigi was black, and Gigi was just a force. Think of Tina Turner. And Gigi introduced us to the Jackson 5 and this and that. She was super fun, and we would love it when she was coming up. And across the street from us, one house down, was a park, and we would always go and play in the park and, do what you did in that. Other kids would ride their bikes down there and play in the park as well. And there were some boys that rode down one day, and they rode around the park a while, maybe shot some basketball, and then they went back home, and they came back and they threw mud at Gigi. And I had no idea why, but as somebody who was kind of picked on from time to time, playing with the girls, I said, boys are boys, people are mean, and this and that. Well, anyways, we went home, we told Julie and Corey's mom, and things got really serious. And then all of a sudden, their mom, Kay, was talking to my mom and the neighbor mom, and they were talking to us kids like, well, where did these boys live? We didn't know. We just knew they rode their bikes down through Gigi and went home. So I didn't think too much about it, but I knew that the conversation with the mothers was really, really serious. And then we had to go in the house. All of us had to go in our homes and stay there. And I didn't understand any of that. So I remember asking my mom, I said, what's going on? I don't understand. And she told me that sometimes because somebody's black, in this case, Gigi, people do mean things to them because of their skin color. And I had no awareness of that. I was beginning to learn my first experience about racism. I didn't understand, well, why would they do that? And I don't remember my mother having any great profound answer, except sometimes when you're black, these are the sad things that happen. And I was left so confused about why that was. And that's the day I learned about racism. And I'm going to close with this. You know how I love show tunes and this and that, but I played the role of Joe Cable in South Pacific one time, and I got to sing this solo. And these songs were written in the 40s, and listen to how prevalent they still are. You've got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be taught from year to year. It's got to be drummed in your dear little ear. You have to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught to be afraid of people whose eyes are oddly made and people whose skin is a different shade. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught before it's too late, before you are 6 or 7 or 8, to hate all the people your relatives hate. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be carefully taught. So thank you, board, and thank you, UCCMA at large, for all the good work you do to combat this. Thank you.
Thank you.
God
Thank
bless you. Have a great
Thank
week. Happy Lent.
Thank you, Don.
Bye.
Right.
Bye-bye.